Welcome everyone to this week's edition of the openIMIS Implementers Committee meeting, where we jointly discuss various implementation topics from various implementations throughout the world. This week we have a special input. We don't go through our regular Implementers Committee meeting minutes, but we have a special input regarding the release that recently came out in April. So the openIMIS 2604 release. There are some functionalities in there that maybe you're aware of, maybe you're not, but we wanted to um, go through it together so that you can see and then have questions around it as well. I'm very happy to also have Anthony here on the call that will take us through there. But before we get into the input, I would like to hand it over to our testing and knowledge management team, who's been organizing the user acceptance tests for these releases, and also to Uwe to take us through some of the processes uh, around the releases of openIMIS. What is the behind the scenes work that goes on, and what ultimately leads to a release. So handing over to either George or Sunil for that.
All right, thank you, Suraf. I have a short PowerPoint presentation that I want to use as a guide in illustrating um, what the OpenIMIS community does, because we have a release checklist, and I'm sure each and every one of us here knows that we have two releases for OpenIMIS every year, the April and the October release. And for each of these release phases, we have a release checklist which we use as a guide. And this we could categorize them in five different stages. Where the phase one, we can call it the freeze phase. Here we prepare all the Jira tickets and ensure that the development server and every other thing is stable. And we do the build and deployment, where we create the different release branches, build Docker images, and we apply the migrations. Then now we have the launch of the user acceptance tests and update of translations and other documentations that might be needed to accompany what we release in the release server. Then here we have the beta phase. Just to explain, here we do the beta phase. We could say it is a phase at the level of the developers, where they generate synthetic data and verify that what they've developed is working well. If not, they fix bugs internally. Then we have a core testing phase still run at the level of the developers core group, where they test the different functionalities, the key functionalities. It could be enrollment, claims management, administration, and the rest in the release server. They do their documentations, and at the end of this, we have now the final release candidate phase, where what has been developed is being made available at the testing functionality phase, where we do the user acceptance test. And for this, we usually invite different volunteers to join the community in testing. So we have the same functionalities being tested by different persons to be sure they work well and they suit the users' expectations. At this level, we equally have bug fixing, where key functionalities that are not working well, we generate tickets and they are being fixed by the developers. Then we equally have installation and of the different modules, where we verify that the Docker is deployable. Installations are able to be run successfully, especially for the mobile and other installation versions that are there. Then we equally already start collecting information for documentation. And after this, we now move now to the general availability phase, where we put openIMIS functioning available on our release server for different implementations that are interested to be able to access the most recent version of openIMIS we have, incorporating all what we have developed right up to when this particular release is being put into availability for the community. At this general availability phase, we make sure that the codes are available, the server is up and running, and publish all the packages. We create GitOps releases. All branches are merged, and the demo server is up to date and running. Here, equally, we do a proper documentation in our wiki to be sure that what we have as an openIMIS running instance is well documented in our wiki with the different installation and user manuals. Then we have a what we call closeout and promotion, where we close all Jira tickets to be sure that everything that was raised has been addressed. We have a finalized release notes for marketing for anybody who wants to use openIMIS to have all what they need in our wiki page. But that does not end, because after all of this, with the availability of our release, we immediately start our post-release activity. And this is in preparation for the next release, because this is an ongoing cycle. Here we have sandbox synchronization, where we ensure that our secondary instances are all interoperable, and everything is working well in our demo release instance. We currently do documentation updates, where we refresh user manuals, ensure installation guides are up to date, and technical requirements are all up to date and running. Then we equally start preparing, as I mentioned, for the next release setup, where we start initializing the next cycles, Jira epics, wiki pages, milestones, and checklists to be sure that what the developers, bug fixing, and every other contributor to any subsequent release, what they have been working on, are all well incorporated. So we prepare them for the next freeze phase. So I just wanted to run us through our different release cycles. So we have this in our wiki page, where you can all visit to see what we mean, for more information on what we mean by freeze, alpha, beta, um, release candidate, and general availability, different phases. So this is all applicable both for our October and April release, and we equally have planning, where each of these is being taken. Each of these elements are taking place. For example, we have freeze always happening in August for September, for October release. The alpha phase always happening between August and September. We'll have the IT testing, then the beta. We'll have the beta phase. We'll have the user acceptance test and bug fixing. It always takes place within the month of September right up to October, and we always try to make sure that our release candidate is available within the month of October, and everything is deployed before the end of October. And same goes with our April release. And with that, I will say thanks for your attention, as we welcome our colleagues from the World Bank to take us through the core developments which we have realized for this particular release, and for even the past release or couple of release, which is on the social security functionalities with the core MIS. Thank you.
Uwe, anything to add from your side before we hand it over to Anthony?
No, nothing to add. Sorry, I'm having a few issues with the settings in Jitsi, but thanks for that good overview, George. That was very concise and complete. Thank you.
Then over to you, Anthony, for taking us through some of the features, particularly surrounding the Core MIS solution.
Okay, thank you, Soraf. So I will be presenting with Wei and Shazab from the World Bank team. So I will let Wei introduce, and I will prepare the sharing of the slide. Over to you, Wei.
Hi, everyone. So I guess for this release on the World Bank side, we've contributed. I think the contributions are like twofold. One is on the project-based programs, and then which can be used to manage public works, and then cash for work for cash, and then training type of conditional cash transfer scenarios and workflows. And then the payment can then be generated based on the entered timesheets. And then another aspect is the fine-grained permission controls for grievance, which you will see in terms of the like the usability improvement allows for, because grievance type of tickets can have varying degree of sensitivity, and then so it needs a little bit more sort of control in terms of who can see what and who can manage what. So that is a enhancement in terms of usability and control on the grievance management side. So that's a high level overview, and then Anthony has prepared slides which we will go through. Anthony, over to you.
Hello, do you see my screen? Thank you, Wei.
Yes, we see it. It was already in presentation mode, but now it's back in slide edit mode.
Okay, let me see the presentation mode. Okay, thank you. So, as Wei introduced it, we worked on the conditional transfer delivery chain with the project tracking, and we also worked on the grievance module enhancement. So we will start with the project-based program and time tracking. Over to you, Wei.
Thank you, Anthony. So I didn't notice the slides were already up. Yes, so let's get started. Just on a high level overview for the, so we are already very familiar with this program in openIMIS, which is also called benefit plans, and then it has been like a default renaming as part of this release as well. So now they're called programs, which is a more sort of commonly used terms to refer to a cash transfer or social protection type of program. And then so for program, each program now can have multiple projects, and these projects serve as a way of sort of subdividing a program. So so you can have, for example, on the right, there is a public works program, which can have different types of public works projects that say irrigation canal, village woodlot, and then so on. So then each of these projects is associated with an activity. And then so then there are other attributes like location, targeted number of beneficiaries, and number of working days, and these are configurable on the project. And then I didn't indicate which ones are required and which ones are optional. But anyway, so this is just like at the high level, one program can have multiple projects. Next slide, please. And then the projects, this is not just designed for public works. You can also use it for other purposes, like projects can be used to track like training sessions or classes, and then so which makes enrollment. So then the enrollment is configurable. You can have it as exclusive enrollment or multiple enrollment. So for example, for public works, we don't we don't want a beneficiary to enroll in multiple public work projects at the same time, then you can say this project is exclusive, and then such that when a beneficiary from a program has already been enrolled in public works project A, they will not be allowed to be enrolled again in public works project B. And then, but on the other hand, for trainings or classes type of scenario, a beneficiary can be allowed to enroll in multiple classes, and in this case, you don't want your project to be exclusive. Then you can allow multiple enrollments. So this is just such that the enrollment is clearly defined at the project level, and then so you don't have to do deduplication after the fact. Next slide, please. And then, so at the project level, then because there are like working days that is specified when the project is first created, and then once the status is of a project is switched from under preparation to in progress, and then you will be able to track, do timesheets entry for each of the beneficiary that's been enrolled in a project. And then, so for each working day, and it's not just an attend or not attend, and then the entry is a sort of a percentage completion. This provides the flexibility. Say, for example, some public works project might want to track like a traffic light system, like 0%, 50%, 100%, then they can do a percentage completion. And then, so for the attend, not attend, it can be represented as 0% or 100%. So that provides that flexibility, and is bulk data entry. So it's kind of like looks like Excel spreadsheet, but you don't have to use Excel. You can just enter all the data in one page for a given project at a time, and then for multiple days at a time. And then, so this is a UI that's been designed with intention and such that like it mimics Excel sheets, but it doesn't rely on Excel spreadsheet. And so you don't have to export, have to like enter in Excel, then import. So this is another sort of user workflow change. It's not a change. This is more of a way that is now built into the app rather than having to rely on a separate data entry mechanism. And then, so each beneficiary, for each beneficiary each day for each project, and then that can be recorded in bulk, as I mentioned. So next slide, please. And then based on the time tracked, and then there's also a new calculation rule that's being made available as part of this feature as well, which is a timesheet based payment calculation. So for any program that has project, this calculation rule can be selected when in the payroll payment generation, and then where it will be calculated, you will be asked to enter a base day rate. This is which then will be used to calculate the time, calculate the beneficiary payouts. And then, so below there's some example of how this is being calculated. But if a beneficiary works 50% for workday 3, and then so for that day, they only get half the pay as opposed to the total, the 100% of the pay. And then the pay for each day is then added together to calculate total payment for the payroll period. Next slide, please. And then also for payroll generation, we've added support for payment by project or by location, or a combination of both. So this is such that payment can be managed at a distributed regional level. So you don't have to generate payroll for the entire project. So for the entire program at a time, but rather you can do so per location or per project. So this provides additional flexibility for payroll generation. I think that's it for this feature. Back to you, Anthony.
Thank you, Wei. So I will continue with the grievance module. So the grievance request module. So we added a three-chair permission-based access and a hierarchical a cascading parametering for the categories. So you can now restrict the access to the categories and flag with permission and with access chair. So you have the ability to restrict the read, to have the full read, and to configure there's at the categories level, at the flag level, or at the parent and child level. So how it works, the categories and flag require permission type. You have the read, the create, the restricted read. And the module in the backend generate the permission that is associated with that. And all of these are enforced at the model level. So when the data is queried, it's already filtered on the user access right. So all the exposed data is already restricted. You, from the GraphQL level, the REST level, or the FIR level. So the administrator can configure the role. So a viewer that can only view some a grievance based on the category, or a GBV specialist that have access to only gender-based violence grievance. So there is also management command to handle all the permission that is created. So the access to the grievance is hierarchical and categorized. You can define some user like protection officer that see VBG and general categories, and enrollment clerk that can just see the general case, and you have the district admin that can be restricted on the case that is affected in its district. So the same module allow you to define multiple level of access. So on the hierarchical category and resolution time, you have the three organization where you can have a complaint, a general complaint categories that define its resolution time. And under the complaint category, you can have a VBG, a categories that enrich from what has been defined on the complaint categories in terms of restriction, in terms of access right, and also can override this right. So the child edits his parent element, but also can set his own. So you have the hierarchy, a parent-child categories model that allow you to define a triage taxonomy and not just a flat list. And you have also on the UI, we implemented a cascading drop down that allow you to select the category based on this hierarchy. So the resolution time also is defined, can be defined on the categories level, and the child words we have been defined if it doesn't overwrite it. So you have the foundation to put in place and monitoring and escalation reporting system for the grievance redress management. So this allows for more confidentiality and a unified category. So you have the field level confidentiality where you can define the visibility of some field. And when these fields are restricted, the user will just see a generic text like restricted, and a child can excuse me, a child categories can a child categories can tighten these field visibilities and and they cannot widen it. If a parent restricts the visibility of a field, all the child will inherit this visibility configuration and can only tighten it. They cannot make a field visible that a parent has hidden. So you have an example of configuration where you can define the gray events type, the name, the associated permission, if it is it read only, create, or the permission that you can give to a configure to a given role, the default resolution time configuration, and this complaint categories can define child. So you can define a VBG type complaint with also his accompanying a permission, a configurable permission, and also the field that is visible for this child. And here in this case, you see that we override the default resolution. And also we can set a default flag like confidential for this VBG complaint. So for the migration, we ensure that existing configuration for grievance module still apply. So you have backward compatibility, and we have the permission that is worded in name. So you can easily configure that in the module configure. And we also added automated test coverage to ensure that existing functionality doesn't break. So here it for this is for the GUI events module, and we will go to next. So the release introduces essentially the project-based program and time tracking. So with allowing to enroll in project, multi-project, the daily time log and the progress, and the possibility to pay by project and location. And also on the GUI events management, you have an overhaul which introduces shared access, hierarchical categories per category service level, and also field level confidentiality for sensitive case. This is for the introduction of functionalities in the social protection. Over to you, Wei.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think I have anything more to add, so maybe we can turn this back to Saurabh.
Sure. But maybe George and all can facilitate some Q&A. I see Joe already has his hand up for questions, but maybe we start with Joe, and then George, you can facilitate more Q&A.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Wei and Anthony. This is so useful. You have, I was going to say you have no idea, but you do have an idea. Just a quick question. In sometimes when the cases are not manageable by, let's say, the social protection unit, there's probably in some cases a need to refer a case for someone else to resolve it. For example, it could be a case with a payment provider or something else. Have you encountered any requests specific to this on the GRM? Just a question. Thank you so much.
Anthony, you want to take that?
Excuse me, can you, I didn't get your question. Can you repeat, please?
Oh, sure. So I meant in the case management, sometimes in the GRM, there are cases that require a referral of a case outside of the social protection unit. I'm wondering if you've had any requests for such cases I don't know if it's clear. If not, I can maybe repeat myself with an example. Thank you.
Uh, okay, this is clear, but on the operational part, we didn't yet get this request because it's on the operation manual that they handle this part, but on the system level, on the case I can speak for the Burundi, they didn't ask for a way to do this referral from the system part. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe, for the question. And I think it is very important. Maybe we could start reflecting on such kind of referrals, which is out of maybe the scope of social security and needs some kind of intervention. So we are now open to questions and answers, questions as per the different presentations that have been done, and on any other elements with regards to our openIMIS releases. So whosoever is interested in maybe getting more insight as to what has been presented, you could maybe just indicate or you could take the floor. I see we has shared with us some documentation in the chat where we could have more information on the cash transfer project management and the user manual that's available to that effect. Any other question? Without any other question, maybe I can maybe ask a question for clarity. The presentation that you did with an example on something like public works and all of that, I was trying to contextualize what you presented in maybe a kind of a program I have in mind. For example, in Cameroon, we have different programs by different UN agencies, and I can take an example. We have UNHCR, which is taking care of refugees and internal displaced persons. And I'm trying to look in the context of what we have here for social security in this kind of programs where they have different projects for maybe internal displaced persons and IDPs. It could be in the area of nutrition, it could be in the area of education, it could even be in the area of provision of some basic necessities. I'm trying to narrow all of this in this kind of a program, and I don't know if you have any kind of this kind of a project where you use uh, COIMAS to support this kind of interventions, emergency interventions, or relief aid. I just wanted to know if there's some implementation that this tool is being used somewhere in the world to manage such interventions.
Did you mean just instead of doing cash transfer, like say distributing vouchers or basic necessities and goods, like goods distribution instead of money?
Yeah,
Is that what?
because sometimes they have like for example, for IDPs they have nutrition packages, and to make sure that the same family does not receive the same package multiple times. We try now to do some enrollments and definition of status and definition of packages and periodicity, where maybe you could have some reminders that family X or Y hasn't received its package, and when they receive the package, there is some checklist and there is some next voucher that is going to be generated for when they should next pass and collect their whatever is available for them. So that's the distribution of goods and different relief aid.
I see. Yeah, To be honest, I am more on the engineering technical side rather than operation side for the bank's operations. I can check with my operational colleagues and to see like all the use cases that I'm aware of. It's all cash transfer. Uh, but yeah, I can check with my operational colleagues and see if there are use cases as such. But I take this as a sort of a feature request. I think this has been mentioned before, and then so we can discuss this more, and then see how that fits into the overall product roadmap for openIMIS.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if there's any other question. We are still left with about 30 minutes to the top of the hour. Without any further question, I don't know if Jennifer or Suraf maybe have some comments and maybe some concluding remarks that they could give us, so we could maybe call it a day.
Sure. Yeah, no, a big thank you then from the coordination desk side to George and Anthony and Wei for preparing these presentations on the latest release. Yeah, I think it was quite helpful to everyone to go through this in this manner, and we will make the recording also available. So if any of your colleagues weren't able to join this call, this could also be shared with them, right, to receive an update on this. And then, yeah, we'll try to always organize these types of sessions with each of the new releases that come out as well. So after the next one in October, we'll organize a call similarly on this. Yeah, but then I think if there's no further questions, then we would conclude here for today, and then tomorrow next week we would resume with our regular implementers committees calls as normal. So in that case, I can wish everyone a very nice afternoon, and yeah, enjoy the additional 15 minutes of your time.